It's Queenie and y'all, and I got the sequel to Licole's reality. I hope you're ready. This right here is The Other Side of Reality, written by me, Queenie Ianaj. Now listen, if you haven't stepped into Licole's reality yet, stop. Don't play with this story like that. Go back, read it, sit with it. Because if you walk in here first, you're not gonna be confused, you're gonna be lost. And I don't wanna do that to you. All right, if you're here, I'm trusting you did what you were supposed to do. Because this one don't ask questions, it answers them. Every sound, every glitch, every moment that didn't feel right, yeah, we going there. So get comfortable, or at least try to, because this side, it don't drift, it don't blur, it don't let you look away. Ready? Set? Let's go. Chapter 1, March 17. The kitchen light had been on too long, too sharp, too bright. Not the soft blur of memory. This was the kind of light that felt like it had teeth. Licole's fingers traced the edge of the counter, nails tapping an uneven rhythm. She didn't realize she was holding her breath until it escaped in a tiny, trembling hiss. Her mom stood in the doorway, arms crossed, the quiet weight of worry pressing the air down around them. "Licole?" she said, voice calm but tight enough to cut. "You been off for days? What's going on?" Licole shrugged, lips pressed together. She wanted to tell her mom it was nothing. It had been nothing before. Just a headache, some fatigue, irritability. But now her body felt like it had betrayed her, and she couldn't speak. Words caught in her throat, thick, heavy, like lead. "I'm fine," she whispered finally. Too sharp, too clipped. Her mom's eyes narrowed, but she didn't push, not yet. She just watched. Licole reached for a glass of water, missed it, caught it again. Her hands trembled slightly. She ignored it. She always ignored it. But her mom noticed. "You've barely eaten. You snapping at the kids. You're tired. You need to tell me when something's wrong?" her mom said, stepping closer. Licole shook her head. "I'm okay." The lie tasted bitter in her mouth. It scraped the back of her throat. Then the first sign came, the hand twitch. Fingers curling, flexing, gripping the counter like they were trying to hold on to something invisible. She didn't feel it happen, didn't understand it, only that it felt wrong, and then every small sensation in her body turned into chaos. Her jaw locked, a sharp, sudden tension that made her teeth hurt. Shoulders followed, her back arched slightly. The glass slipped through her fingers, water spilling, shattering the calm. She didn't flinch, didn't react. "Licole?" her mom said, voice now trembling. She tried to reach her, touch her, hold her steady. "Look at me. Please." Her body betrayed her again. Tremors surged through her, not small shakes, violent, uncontrollable jerks. Her legs locked, then bent, then locked again. She fell halfway into the counter, then rebounded. Her arms flailed, knocking over a chair. The sound of splintering wood and glass didn't register. 911, her mom shouted, fumbling for her phone with hands shaking, eyes wide, tears threatening. "Somebody help. She's seizing. Won't stop. Please, please." Licole's eyes fluttered, trying to focus, but her vision narrowed and constricted like a tunnel with no end. The fluorescent light reflected harshly in her eyes, too bright, stabbing. Her ears caught fragments, her mom's voice breaking, the operator's calm monotone, but it all felt distant, like she was underwater. Her body arched again. Her back slammed against the counter. Another chair tipped. She didn't notice. She couldn't. Her brain had switched to a fight she didn't understand. A seizure that had been quietly building for weeks without anyone seeing. Her mom was shouting instructions at the operator, voice panicked, words tripping over one another. She's been like this before? She's never done this. Oh my God, please somebody help her. Licole's lips moved. She tried to form words, tried to speak, but the seizure wouldn't let her. Only spasms, only pain. Only the suffocating sense that her body was no longer hers. The kitchen had become a battlefield. Broken glass, spilled water, chairs scattered. Her mom's hands clutched her arms, shaking, desperate to anchor her to the world. "Stay with me, Licole, please." And then, for a heartbeat, everything froze. A flicker of stillness. A cruel pause. Her mom gasped, thinking maybe it had ended. But her body surged again, stronger, sharper, more violent than before. Something deeper than a headache had awakened, something her body couldn't control. Her vision narrowed, ears rang, chest tightened. She wanted air, wanted to move freely, wanted her body back. But it wasn't hers anymore. Her mom's voice broke the tension. "Licole, look at me. Don't leave me." Licole's eyes focused briefly. She saw her mom's tears, the panic, the fear. She tried to respond, but her voice was trapped behind spasms. Her body jerked again, again, and then the sound came. Not outside, not in the phone, but inside. A pulsing, rhythmic echo. Licole didn't know it yet, but it was the first hint of the machines, the monitors, the life that would have to fight for her before she could. Her mom, finally collapsing beside her on the floor, held on to Licole with everything she had. "Stay with me. Stay with me. You hear me, baby? Don't go." Licole tried to reach out with her mind, tried to fight through the body that had betrayed her. The kitchen was bright, sharp, and chaotic. But in that moment, her mom's voice was the only thing she clung to. She didn't know it yet, but the fight had only begun. Chapter 2, The Ride. The ambulance doors slammed. Licole didn't notice. Her body still fought itself, twisting and jerking with spasms that refused to stop. Her mom followed, hands shaking, trying to keep her daughter upright. The paramedics were already moving fast, voices clipped, machines and bags rattling, wheels scraping against tile and linoleum. Everything felt too loud, too sharp, too real. "Oxygen mask," one of them said. They forced it over Licole's face. She didn't resist, couldn't. The plastic pressed against her nose and mouth and she tried to breathe, but her chest tightened again. Not pain exactly, just a weight she couldn't move. A lock inside her lungs, her ribs, her spine. Her mom clutched her hand, fingers digging into Licole's palm. "Baby, I need you. Please, stay with me." Her voice cracked, repeated, begged. The ambulance smelled like antiseptic and vinyl, mixed with the faint metallic tang of spilled blood from the kitchen. Her mom's tears were wet against her wrist. Licole couldn't speak, couldn't tell her it was going to be okay. She didn't even know if it would be. The siren screamed, high, shrill, insistent, like it was tearing the world apart to warn everyone that this wasn't a normal day. Licole's vision flickered in and out, shuddering, narrowing, then opening again in broken frames. Shadows cut across her eyelids, faces blurred. The paramedic's words bounced around her skull, partially heard. "How long has this been happening? Vitals dropping. We need to move now." Her mom repeated her daughter's name over and over, holding tight. "Stay with me, baby. I need you. Please, please, Licole, don't go. Don't leave me." Her fingers were gripping so hard, Licole could feel the pressure through the oxygen mask, the shaking of the ambulance, the panic in every heartbeat. One paramedic slid an IV into her arm. Licole felt it slice through the skin and thought she might scream, but the spasms caught her voice again. Another medic pressed gently on her shoulders, holding her still for the insertion, murmuring instructions to the first. It all felt distant, underwater, like she was trapped inside someone else's body while her own refused to listen. The road jolted. The ambulance lurched around corners, tires squealing, metal vibrating through the floor and into her spine. Her chest was tight. Her head felt like it was being pulled apart and pushed together at the same time. Every bump sent her body flailing despite the straps and the medic holding her down. She saw her mom's face, mouth moving, eyes wide, but she didn't fully understand the words. They were shapes, sounds, urgent but unreachable. "Hold her head," one paramedic barked. Another injected a sedative. Licole felt it burn her veins, warm and strange, crawling toward her brain like fire moving backward. Her body relaxed, just enough to stop the worst jerks, but her chest remained trapped. She wanted to cry, she wanted to fight, she wanted to scream. Nothing came. Her mom whispered her name again, soft now, low, almost as if speaking louder might break something inside Licole. I'm right here. You hear me, baby? You're not alone." Her hand never let go. never loosened. Licole's mind flickered to fragments she barely remembered. The glitches, the voices, the beeping, the feeling of being observed. Always. She hated the thought. Hated it. But it was familiar. And somehow comforting. The paramedics shouted updates over each other, giving orders to the hospital. We've got a severe seizure. Suspected neurological, possible lead poisoning. She's unstable. The words hit Licole like a hammer. She didn't understand yet. Didn't want to. But inside, her body knew something was wrong. Something more than tiredness, more than headaches, more than ordinary. Her mom repeated herself again, soft, desperate. You gotta stay, baby. I need you to stay with me, please. Her hand squeezed, thumb brushing the back of Licole's knuckles. That single contact tethered her, even as the world swirled and shrank and twisted around her. The road felt endless. Red lights, green lights, motion and blur. Every bump reverberated through her spine. The sedative made her body heavier than it should be, like gravity itself had decided to sit on her chest. Her limbs floated and crashed, a ghost inside herself. She caught glimpses of paramedics' faces, each movement precise, each word clipped, each gesture urgent. They were fighting for her, too. Not just her mom. Somewhere in the chaos, her mom whispered the same thing again. Repeated it like a prayer, like a spell. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. The words echoed in Licole's skull, bouncing off the walls of her mind. She tried to reach them, tried to grab onto them, and somewhere, buried under seizure and sedation, she felt the thread of herself respond. A flicker. A small recognition. The sirens tore through streets and hearts alike. Machines in the back of the ambulance beeped, registering vital signs, warning of danger. One read unstable, and the screen blinked. Another paramedic tightened a strap, whispered a command, checked her pulse again. They were all moving in synchrony, controlled chaos, fighting for a body that refused to obey. Her mom squeezed her hand again. I'm right here. Stay with me. Please, baby? And for a moment, just a sliver of a moment, Licole's mind reached through the fog. She felt her mom's grip, felt the warmth, the frantic heartbeat pressed against her own. Something deep inside her stirred. And then the world blurred again. But the tether was there, holding, waiting. The ride wasn't over, the fight wasn't over, and the story, her story. Chapter 3, Something is Wrong. The hospital doors slid open and slammed shut behind them, a harsh punctuation to the chaos that had followed Licole from her kitchen. The fluorescent lights here were colder, sharper, more unforgiving. The smell of antiseptic, plastic, and bleach hung heavy in the air, pressing down on her lungs, making each breath feel like work. Her body, still shaking in spasms, was unsteady on the gurney. Straps and monitors held her down, a cage she didn't understand yet, a protection she didn't ask for. Her mom ran beside her, holding onto the side of the stretcher, one hand clenched tight around Licole's wrist, the other gripping her own phone like it was a lifeline. Stay with me, baby, she whispered over and over, voice fraying at the edges. Don't leave me, please. A nurse met them at the entrance, clipboard clutched to her chest. Room 12, vitals first, then blood work, stat. Her voice was calm but clipped, carrying authority. Licole barely registered the words. Her world had narrowed down to one thing, the weight of her own body refusing to follow her commands, the tangle of wires and machines, and her mom's voice anchoring her. They wheeled her down the hall. The linoleum reflected the lights above in harsh streaks, making the world feel like it was moving past her faster than she was. Her arms and legs twitched involuntarily with every bump and jolt. The paramedics gave a quick handoff, explaining what they had observed: seizures, length, intensity. The doctors' faces sharpened, concern flashing briefly before it turned professional. Vitals are unstable, one doctor said, snapping her attention to the monitors. We need labs, fast. I want a full panel. Blood work, imaging, everything. Her mom hovered near the gurney, nodding, mouth open to speak, but words caught. She had no script for this kind of emergency. Only fear, thick and raw, pressing against her chest. The nurses moved with quiet precision, checking IVs, adjusting monitors, repositioning Licole to prevent injury. Licole tried to respond, but the seizures made her words impossible. Her chest tightened with each failed attempt, each wave of resistance from her own body. She wanted to tell them she was scared. She wanted to ask why this was happening, but the sound wouldn't come. Only spasms, only jerks, only the uncontrollable convulsions of a body betraying its mind. One doctor pulled her mom aside, speaking low but urgent. "We need to discuss the initial lab results," she said. Her eyes were sharp, serious. "The numbers are off, extremely off." Her mom's stomach dropped. "Off how?" she asked, voice trembling. "Lead," the doctor said. The word landed like a hammer. "High levels, very high, not acute, not a single exposure. This has been building for months." Her mom blinked. "Lead? Months?" She felt like the floor had vanished beneath her. "But how? She's been healthy. She's careful. How did we not know?" The doctor sighed. "It's insidious. It can accumulate quietly. Symptoms appear gradually. Headaches, irritability, fatigue. Sometimes more severe neurological signs appear suddenly, like the seizure you witnessed. Her body is fighting an invisible invader." Inside, Licole's world felt like it was twisting again. Lead. Something she hadn't seen, hadn't noticed, had been filling her, saturating her, creeping into every corner of her body. She wanted to reach out to ask why she hadn't felt it before, but her body refused cooperation. Only the faint flicker of recognition, the primal awareness of danger, floated through her consciousness. Her mom's hands squeezed hers as she was wheeled into the imaging room. "We're going to fix this baby," she whispered. "We're going to make it better. I promise." The radiology tech moved efficiently, placing Licole on the scanning bed. The cold surface pressed against her skin, adding to the tension, the discomfort, the sense that her world had shifted completely. Machines whirred, clicked, beeped. Licole could feel the vibrations through her bones, the rhythm pounding inside her head. Her body twitched with every pulse, every mechanical hum, every synthetic breath of the hospital around her. Meanwhile, the doctor pulled her mom aside again. "We need to consider intervention immediately," she said. Her tone was serious, tight. "The levels are high enough to threaten her organs. Her brain is at risk. This isn't something we can watch and wait. We need action." Her mom's hands trembled, pressed against her mouth. What? What kind of action?" "Chelation therapy," the doctor said. "It's intensive, it's aggressive, but necessary. And depending on how she responds, we may need to sedate her, even put her in a temporary coma. Her body is under attack, and this is the only way to protect her brain." Time slowed for Licole's mom. Her mind raced, heart hammering. She could see her daughter on the bed, wires running in, monitors tracking every twitch, every spike, every labored breath. She could hear the paramedics and nurses speaking in clipped technical language that felt like a foreign code. All she could do was hold her daughter's hand, feel the slight warmth under her trembling fingers, and whisper over and over, "Stay with me, baby. Please don't leave me." Licole's body twitched again, but her consciousness, fragmentary as it was, brushed against the thread of her mom's voice. That thread, constant, unwavering, loving, was her lifeline, the only anchor in a sea of clinical chaos. Somewhere in her mind, she reached toward it, tiny, feeble, but real. The doctors worked fast. Labs, scans, vitals, everything pointed to the same conclusion. This was not a sudden disaster. This was something building, silent, insidious, waiting until it erupted. The urgency pressed down like a physical weight. Every movement, every breath, every monitor beep underscored the fragility of the moment. Her mom stayed at her side, whispering, praying, willing her to fight. Licole's mind floated in and out of the sedation they had begun, faint awareness flickering at the edges. Somewhere inside, she felt the thread of voice, the tether, the reason to hold on. And for the first time, she didn't fight it. She grasped it, small and trembling, as the machines hummed, as the hospital moved around her, as the invisible enemy inside her body continued its silent work. Somewhere between fear and hope, panic and calculation, Licole's story had shifted. She wasn't just a patient anymore. She was a body under siege, a consciousness tethered by love, and a fight that had only just begun. Chapter 4, It's Everywhere. The room smelled of antiseptic, metallic, and clean, but Licole didn't notice. She couldn't. Her body felt like it belonged to someone else. Wires ran from her arms and chest, IVs feeding medicine into veins that throbbed beneath the skin, monitors blinking and beeping as if counting down her life. Machines hummed steadily, relentless, rhythmic, the only pulse that felt reliable in the chaos. Her mom sat beside her bed, head resting on her shoulder, hands clinging to Licole's fingers like anchors. She had been there since the ride, since the seizure that had ripped through their kitchen, and she had not moved, not once. Her whispered prayers, soft and constant, layered over the mechanical sounds. Stay with me, baby. Fight, don't leave me. A doctor pulled her mom aside again. Her tone was tight, serious, urgent. Licole's levels are extreme. We're talking saturation. Her blood, her organs, her bones, it's everywhere. Not just in one spot, not just a recent exposure. This has been building silently for months. Her mom's stomach lurched. Everywhere? Every part of her? Yes. The doctor's eyes were sharp. It's in her bones, stored like a reservoir. Her organs are absorbing it. Her intestines, kidneys, liver, the brain is at risk. Time is critical. The words landed like bricks, heavy and impossible. Her mom's hand tightened over Licole's. She couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't make sense of what she was hearing. How didn't we notice? She whispered, voice breaking. You may not have, the doctor said gently. Lead poisoning is insidious. Early symptoms are subtle: headaches, fatigue, irritability, cognitive changes. Over time, it builds until it becomes critical. Unfortunately, she's already showing neurological involvement. That's why the seizures were so severe. Inside, Licole's consciousness floated between awareness and sedation. She could feel everything: the cold bed, the tight straps, the IVs in her arms, the constant rhythm of machines. Her chest felt constricted. Her skull throbbed. And underneath it all, a low, gnawing panic, an understanding she couldn't voice, that her body had been compromised for months, slowly poisoned from the inside out. Her mom leaned closer, pressing her forehead against Licole's. I didn't know. I didn't see it. I didn't. Shh, the doctor said softly. Now isn't about blame. Now is about action. Action. The word felt hollow. What action could fix months of accumulation? What could undo the invisible infiltration that had crept into her bones and brain? The monitors continued their relentless watch. Beep, pause, beep. Each tone a reminder of the fragility of life, the precarious edge they were standing on. Her brain is swelling, another nurse said. Pressure is increasing. If we don't act immediately, she could have permanent damage. Her mom's hands trembled. Permanent? Yes. That's why we need chelation therapy and possibly sedation. We have to protect her brain first. The magnitude of it pressed down on Licole's mind, even as her body twitched involuntarily. It was everywhere, every organ, every bone, every vessel. Her body had been compromised so completely, so silently, that it felt like betrayal. But worse, it was uncontrollable. And the thought of the brain, her consciousness, her sense of self under siege, that was terrifying. The doctor explained the process, carefully, step by step. Blood tests, scans, chelation therapy, sedation, ventilation if needed. Her mom listened, nodding, tears falling silently, one hand never leaving Licole's. Every step felt clinical, precise, necessary, but in her mind it was violence. Violence against the disease, against the poison, against the body she had watched transform into a battlefield. Machines beeped in accompaniment. IVs dripped relentlessly. Oxygen moved mechanically over Licole's face. And through it all, her mom whispered, sometimes barely audible, sometimes louder, fight, baby. Stay. Don't give up. Mommy loves you. Somewhere inside, Licole's mind clung to that voice. It was a thread, thin but real, tying her to herself, tethering her to life even as her body betrayed her. A flicker of awareness, a fragile spark, a thread of hope. Time is critical, the doctor repeated almost to herself. Her brain can only tolerate so much pressure. We act now or we risk permanent damage. Everything else is secondary. Her mom nodded mutely. She couldn't argue. She couldn't stop it. She could only be there, hand holding hand, whispering, willing her daughter to survive this invisible invasion. Licole's body twitched again, and the monitors recorded each irregular beat, each struggle, each small movement of life that refused to surrender. Beep, pause, beep. The rhythm had been terrifying in the past, a signal of danger. Now it was the pulse of fight, the reminder that she was still here, still tethered, still reaching for the voice that refused to leave her side. The enormity of it hit her mom fully. This wasn't a moment. It wasn't an incident. It was an invasion. Every cell of Licole's body had been touched, altered, compromised. And yet, despite the invisible siege, despite the saturation of poison, despite the body that would not obey, her daughter was still tethered to her, still reaching, still fighting, even if she didn't know it. The hospital was clinical, precise, full of machines and professionals and procedures. But for Licole and her mom, it was chaos, terror, and heartbreak, all condensed into the sterile glow of fluorescent lights. Every IV drip, every beep, every movement of the monitors whispered the same thing. Time was critical. Every second counted. Every breath mattered. And the poison was everywhere, relentless, insidious, and waiting. Somewhere beneath the beeps, beneath the spasms, beneath the weight of the diagnosis, Licole felt it. A thread of awareness, a recognition of the voice that never stopped calling her, whispering her back into existence. She couldn't respond yet, couldn't even form a thought that made sense. But somewhere, deep inside, the first spark of fight had begun. Chapter 5, The Decision. The room smelled of antiseptic, hot machines, and the faint metallic tang of stress. Licole's body shuddered again, convulsing violently against the straps that tried to hold her in place. Every muscle locked, every tendon screamed, every breath caught in the cage of her chest. Her mom's hands never left hers, fingers clawing, squeezing, pressing, desperate to transmit some fragment of comfort into the chaos that had claimed her daughter. Another seizure, the nurse said, clipped and urgent. Worse than before. Worse. The word carried the weight of inevitability. Licole's eyes fluttered, half shut, half aware, flickers of terror crossing her face. Her body fought itself like it had a life of its own. The monitors screamed alongside her spasms. Beep, beep. The rhythm jagged, uneven, a heartbeat teetering on the edge of chaos. Every spike and dip broadcast the battle raging inside her. Her mom leaned close, voice cracking. Baby, it's okay. Stay with me. Please stay. She whispered the words over and over, a lifeline thrown into a stormy sea. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. I love you. I love you. Her hand pressed into Licole's, willing her to stay tethered, willing her to fight despite the betrayal of her own body. The doctors moved quickly. One pulled her mom aside. We have no choice, she said softly, her tone calm but severe. We need to sedate her. We'll put her in a medically induced coma and paralyze her. It's the only way to protect her brain from ongoing seizures and the swelling. Her mom froze. Coma? Paralyze? The words felt alien, violent. She couldn't process them yet. Couldn't reconcile the child she had held since birth with the body strapped to machines, fighting for her life in silence. Yes, the doctor said. Necessary, not optional. We'll be breathing for her, monitoring every organ, every heartbeat. The alternative is permanent neurological damage, or worse. Her mom's hand tightened over Licole's, knuckles white. I can't just leave her like that. You're not leaving her, the doctor said gently. You'll be here. She can still hear your voice. It's crucial you stay present. Talk to her, hold her hand. She can sense you, even under sedation. It's the thread keeping her tethered. The nurse moved closer, IV bags swaying, medicine lined up like a battlefield. Licole's body twitched again, jerking violently as if rejecting the impending control. Her eyes fluttered open for a brief second, glazed, uncertain. The only clarity was panic, the recognition that her body was failing her. Her mom pressed closer, voice trembling. I love you, baby. Fight. Don't leave me. She repeated over and over as if the mantra could pull her back from the brink. Every syllable was an anchor, a tether to the reality they both desperately needed. The sedative line began to drip, thick and slow. Licole's body reacted immediately, spasms fading slightly, her muscles relaxing under chemical persuasion. Her mom felt it first in the subtle slackening of her grip, then in the rhythm of her chest, still fighting for each shallow breath. The room felt both frozen and frantic, time suspended between seizure and sedation, hope and terror. Lamont arrived at the doorway just as the sedation deepened. His eyes widened, confusion turning to comprehension, then devastation. He saw Licole's small, fragile body, restrained but fighting, tangled in wires and machines. He saw her mom, desperate, tears falling freely, whispering life into a body that refused cooperation. And he understood fully the reality of how bad it was, how fragile she had become. He stepped closer, voice low but steady. "Licole, it's me. Lamont here? You're not alone." His hand hovered near hers, careful, gentle, trying to transmit some sense of presence, some anchor in the storm of sedatives and seizures. He spoke her name repeatedly, soft, patient, tethering his own heartbeat to hers in whatever small way he could. The doctor moved through the room like a conductor, orchestrating the chaos. Sedative lines adjusted, paralytic drugs measured, ventilator settings confirmed. Every action precise, deliberate, urgent. Licole's body slowly succumbed to the chemicals, muscles loosening, spasms fading. Yet beneath the surface, her life still clung, fragile but fighting. Her mom leaned closer, brushing hair from Licole's face, whispering the same words she had since the kitchen. "Stay with me, baby. Fight! Mommy loves you. Don't leave me. You can make it." Each repetition a tether, each phrase a lifeline. As the sedation deepened and her body finally stilled, Licole's mom pressed her forehead to Licole's hand. She whispered stories of the children waiting, of birthdays missed, of moments paused but not forgotten. "Nana asked about you today. Bri won't sleep without your shirt. You gotta come back. Fight, baby." Each word a thread pulling Licole closer to consciousness, closer to life, despite the paralysis of her body. The ventilator hissed softly with each mechanical breath, the IVs dripped methodically, and the monitors continued their relentless watch. Beep, pause, beep. Every tone a heartbeat, every pause a measure of survival. The room held its collective breath, a silent witness to the delicate battle waged inside a body under siege, a consciousness tethered by love and a family refusing to let go. Minutes stretched like hours. Seconds felt like eternities. The decision had been made. Sedation, paralysis, coma, it was necessary. Yet in that room, among the machines, the chemical hum of life support and the rhythmic beeps, hope clung stubbornly. Her mom's whispers never ceased. Lamont's presence never wavered. The thread of life, fragile and thin, persisted beneath the chemical fog, beneath the paralysis, beneath the weight of invasion inside her body. Licole's fight had shifted, changed forms, become silent but no less real. This wasn't surrender. This was strategy. A pause, a holding pattern, a battlefield where life fought invisibly beneath monitors and drips. The decision was made to protect the brain, to save what could still be saved, and to tether her consciousness to the love and voices she knew. Beep, pause, beep. The rhythm was everything now. It was hope. It was survival. It was the quiet, persistent heartbeat of a story that wasn't over. Chapter 6, Machines. The room was alive with the sound of machinery. Not the kind of alive that's warm or comforting. It was mechanical, precise, cold. Hissing ventilators, rhythmic beeps from monitors, the steady drip of IVs, each sound punctuated the silence, carving it into measured intervals. Licole's body lay still under the paralytic drugs, unresponsive, but the machines did not rest. Every heartbeat, every shallow breath, every tiny spike of neural activity registered and was cataloged, analyzed, recorded. Her mom sat beside her bed, chair pulled close, hands wrapped around Licole's fingers, eyes scanning the monitors like a lifeline. She had not left since the decision had been made to sedate and paralyze. Every second, every beep, every flicker on the screen told her that her daughter was still here, still tethered to life, even if that life was mediated by metal and medicine. The ventilator hissed softly, forcing air into Licole's lungs, a rhythm that replaced her own failed breaths. Her chest rose and fell mechanically, her body obeying the machine rather than its own muscles. Her mom pressed her hand over Licole's, feeling the vibration of each breath, each forced movement of air. "You hear that, baby?" she whispered. "It's me. It's life. It's you staying here. Don't leave me." Monitors tracked heart rate, oxygen saturation, blood pressure, neurological activity. Each tone was sharp, deliberate. Beep, pause, beep. The pattern was hypnotic and terrifying. It echoed the beeping that had haunted Licole before, but now it had context. It wasn't a signal of threat. It was life itself, measured, monitored, fought for. Each beep was a proof that she was still here, even when her body betrayed her. The nurses moved quietly, efficiently, a choreography of precision. One adjusted the ventilator tubing, another checked an IV line, a third took blood samples for the chelation therapy progress. The medical team was constant, precise, impersonal in their efficiency, but the emotional weight of the room was anchored by her mom's presence, by Lamont's silent vigil, by the tenuous connection between human love and mechanical control. Her mom leaned close, brushing a strand of hair from Licole's face. "I'm here, baby. It's okay. Just hang on. Don't give up. Stay with me." Her voice layered over the mechanical symphony, soft and persistent. She told her stories, reminded her of home, of Nana and Bri, of birthdays and birthdays yet to come. Each word was a thread, anchoring Licole to consciousness, even under the fog of sedation. The ventilator hissed, a rhythm replacing what her body could not produce. The IV dripped, carrying medicine to bind the poison that had saturated her. The monitors beeped and paused, tracking every slight spike in heart rate, each micro movement, each neural pulse. The room felt alive, but in a sterile, clinical way, life mediated by wires and machines, tethered by numbers, fought for through precise interventions. Lamont sat quietly in the corner, voice low, hands folded. "Licole? It's me. We're still here. I'm not leaving." His words carried across the room, small but meaningful, brushing against the haze of sedation. He reminded her of life outside this room, of voices and faces that waited, of love that persisted, constant and unrelenting. Time had normal rhythm here. Minutes stretched endlessly. Hours blurred into each other. Her mom watched the monitors with a desperate vigilance, reading each beep as a word, each pause as a sentence. Beep, pause, beep. It was her daughter speaking to her in a language she was just beginning to understand. The machines were more than life support. They were translators. They converted the invisible battle raging inside Licole's body into sounds, patterns, rhythm that her mom could comprehend. Every spike, every fall, every mechanical breath was a declaration. She was still here. She was fighting. And she could hear the voices calling her back. Even in this paralysis, there was a kind of presence. Small movements, a twitch of a finger, a shift of an eyelid, a microspasm, reminded everyone that beneath the sedation, life persisted. It was not passive. It was active, resilient, stubborn. The machines documented it. The nurses monitored it. Her mom's whispers reinforced it. The rhythm of the room, harsh yet intimate, created its own pulse. Life existed in the pauses and the beeps. It existed in the mechanical breaths, in the precise administration of medicine, in the constant, unwavering presence of love. It existed in the thread connecting consciousness to body, tethered not by muscles or willpower, but by the fragile, persistent energy of human connection. Her mom leaned closer, whispering directly into Licole's ear. Nah asked about you today. Bri can't sleep without your shirt. Fight, baby. I'm right here. Don't leave me. Her words were small and intimate against the machinery's harsh backdrop. Each syllable was an anchor, each phrase a lifeline, reaching through the sedation, reaching through the paralysis, reaching for the consciousness that refused to surrender. Time moved differently here. A single hour could feel like a day. Beeps, pauses, and hisses became the markers of life, the proof of survival, the documentation of a fight no one could see but everyone could feel. In the middle of the clinical coldness, love persisted. Steady, constant, unyielding. Her mom's presence, Lamont's vigilance, the subtle awareness flickering in Licole's consciousness, all of it combined into a fragile but real hope. Machines were life now. The ventilator breathed for her. The IVs delivered medicine to fight the invisible invader. The monitors recorded every microbeat. And somewhere inside, beneath chemicals and paralysis, Licole clung to the voices, the thread of human connection keeping her tethered to reality. Beep, pause, beep. And in that rhythm, life persisted. Chapter 7, Lamont. Lamont stood at the foot of the hospital bed, silent, hands stuffed into the pockets of his jacket. He hadn't spoken much since arriving. Words felt inadequate, hollow. The machines hummed, beeped, hissed. The ventilator moved air into Licole's lungs with precise, unfeeling rhythm. And yet to Lamont, every mechanical sound carried weight. Every beep was a heartbeat. Every hiss a fragile exhalation of life that refused to give in. He leaned closer, voice low, almost reverent. "Licole, it's me. I'm right here. You hear me, right?" His words felt small in the sterile, fluorescent-lit room, but they were all he had. He had no control over the chemicals that paralyzed her. No way to stop the machines dictating her every breath. All he could offer was presence, the thread of familiarity, the echo of love she might still perceive. He remembered the last time he had seen her fully awake, fully herself. The way she laughed at the smallest things, the tilt of her head when she was curious, the stubborn spark in her eyes that refused compromise. And now, she was trapped beneath layers of medicine and poison, her body a battlefield, her consciousness tethered by fragility and hope. "I talked to Nana today," he whispered, voice breaking. "She keeps asking for you, wants you here, wants her mommy. You hear that? They need you, baby. We all need you. Bri can't sleep without your shirt. I had to keep it close just so he feels something." His hands hovered near hers, careful not to disturb the IVs or monitors. He brushed a strand of hair from her face, tucking it behind her ear, almost expecting her to flinch, to respond, but she didn't. Her body was still, almost stone-like, but Lamont refused to see it as defeat. He refused to see the paralysis and sedation as finality. Every twitch, every micro-movement, every tiny change in her eyelids or fingers, he noticed. He cataloged them silently, storing each observation as evidence of life, proof that she was still reaching for him, still tethered. "Do you hear me, Licole?" he repeated, voice steadying despite the weight in his chest. "You've got to come back, baby. You've got to fight. You can hear me, right? You can. I know you can. You always could." He sank into the chair beside her bed, leaning forward, elbows resting on his knees, fingers intertwined. His eyes never left her face. Every mechanical breath, every beat from the monitors, every drip from the IVs reminded him of how close they were to the edge. He had no magic. No control over the poison that had infiltrated her body, no control over the chemicals that held her muscles hostage, no control over the swelling in her brain. But he could be here. He could be her voice, her anchor, her tether to the world beyond the machines. "I've been a mess," he admitted aloud, almost to himself. I didn't know how bad it was. I thought she'd just get through it. I didn't see it. I didn't know. And now," his throat tightened. He swallowed, forcing words back down. "Now I see. Now I know. And it's too much. It's too much." The machines continued their steady rhythm. Beep, pause, beep. Every sound was magnified in the silence he carried with him, a heartbeat in the midst of chaos. He leaned even closer, whispering words of encouragement, recounting memories, telling Licole about the small moments he knew would anchor her to life. "Remember that day at the park? You laughed so hard. Bri laughed with you. Nana cried when she couldn't climb the slide. They're still waiting for you, baby. Still waiting for you to come back." His voice grew soft, intimate, almost a chant, repeating the same lines over and over. "Fight, stay, come back to us. You're not alone. I love you." Each repetition was deliberate, a thread tossed into the fog of sedation, a lifeline he refused to let go. Even if she couldn't respond, even if her eyes didn't flicker, he believed she could hear him. He needed her to hear him. Minutes blurred into hours. Lamont remained motionless, body tense, alert, a sentinel against the machines and the poison that had invaded her body. He watched every twitch of her fingers, every blink of her eyelids, every microspasm, cataloging them as proof of resistance, proof of life. Every monitor, every beep, every ventilator hiss was no longer cold machinery. They were instruments of survival, markers of hope he could interpret if he listened closely enough. He spoke her name over and over, layering it with fragments of life outside the hospital. He recounted birthdays, whispered secrets, reminded her of voices she loved, people she missed. Each word was a thread in a tapestry of connection, a tether keeping her mind anchored to reality while her body betrayed her. "I'm not leaving, Licole," he said finally, voice barely audible over the hum of machines. "I'm right here, every second, every breath, every beep. I'm here. Don't leave me. You're not done. Not yet. Fight." And even in the stillness, even beneath sedation and paralysis, even through the haze of poison in her bloodstream, there was a flicker, a micro movement, a pulse, a small acknowledgement that she was still listening, still tethered, still fighting. Lamont's hands fell to her fingers again, squeezing gently. Beep, beep. The rhythm that had haunted her before now became a lifeline between them, a measure of survival, a bridge of love and presence. And he refused to let go, refused to accept finality, refused to let her body's paralysis define the battle. Because even when the body could not respond, even when the world had been reduced to machines and monitors, Lamont knew the truth. Licole was still here. She was still fighting. And he would remain, unwavering, her voice, her anchor, her tether to the world beyond the hospital. Chapter 8, The Kids. The house was quiet, but not peaceful. It had the stillness of expectation, a silence that was heavy, almost conscious, weighing on everything in its path. Nana moved cautiously through the living room, small feet barely making a sound on the hardwood floor. Her eyes flicked to every corner, half expecting to see Licole, half fearing she wouldn't. Every shadow seemed to hold a question she didn't know how to ask. "Where, Mommy?" she whispered, the words trembling in her mouth, almost swallowed by the emptiness around her. The phrase had become a constant in her life over the past days, weeks, an anchor in a world that had gone wrong. She asked it to the empty air, asked it to the quiet walls, asked it to the fragments of memory that haunted her. And yet, no answer came. Bry sat cross-legged on the couch, holding onto a small shirt, one Licole had worn countless times. His fingers traced the fabric obsessively, the texture grounding him in a world that felt like it had shifted. His eyes were fixed, vacant, staring past the room at nothing and everything all at once. He did not speak, not because he did not want to, but because words had become meaningless when they could not bring her back. Na came closer, clutching a small stuffed animal to her chest. "When's she coming home?" she asked again, voice small, fragile. The question was endless, repeated over and over, as if by asking it, she could will reality to correct itself, to fold back around her mother's presence. Bry did not answer. He couldn't. Instead, he squeezed the shirt tighter, closing his eyes as if the fabric itself could contain Licole's essence. Every sigh, every soft hiccup of breath from him echoed the rhythm of the house, a rhythm broken but not gone, fractured but persistent. The days had blurred together since Licole had been hospitalized. Nights were worse. Nana cried herself to sleep, repeating the same question over and over, muttering fragments of her mother's voice. "Don't leave me. Mommy, come back. Fight. Stay." The words were a ghost of the reality she couldn't reach, a shadow that clung to the edges of her understanding. Bry wandered the rooms aimlessly, stopping only to sit with Licole's belongings, her shoes lined up neatly by the door, the small notebook she had used to sketch, the pens she always carried. He traced the items with reverence, As if touching them could pull her back, restore what had been lost. Every item became a conduit, a fragile connection to the mother who had once been the center of their world. Nana pulled at his sleeve. She come back? Her voice was small, trembling, desperate. She coming home? Bry didn't respond immediately. He shook his head, but it was a slow, hesitant movement, one that conveyed both denial and hope at the same time. He could not articulate the complexity, the turmoil, the helplessness. Instead, he held the shirt tighter, pressing it to his cheek, inhaling it like a lifeline. The house itself seemed to respond. Every creak of the floorboards, every soft gust of wind against the windows, every hum of electricity felt amplified, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Nana and Bry existed in a world that felt glitchy, distorted, and uncertain, the same way Licole had perceived reality before the poisoning had overtaken her body. The children's fractured perception mirrored the fractured reality their mother's absence had created. Nana began repeating Licole's name in whispers, almost a chant. Mommy, mommy, mommy. It rolled into itself, a loop that made her voice both comforting and haunting. She pressed the stuffed animal to her chest tighter, as if the act could transmit her longing directly to Licole, wherever she was, wherever she could hear. Bry finally spoke, voice barely above a whisper. She's still in the hospital, he said, more to himself than to Nana. They said she's fighting. They said she's still fighting. His words were cautious, unsure, like each syllable might vanish into the empty space around him. They were both statements and prayers, fragments of reality he clung to desperately. The children moved through the day in quiet rituals, each repetition a way to manage the unmanageable. Nana asked the same questions, over and over, to furniture, to air, to herself. Bry checked Licole's things repeatedly, aligning them meticulously, as if order could bring her back. Their behavior mirrored the glitches that Licole herself had experienced, the looping words, the repetitions, the sense that reality had shifted and left pieces behind. Even the sounds of the house, the humming fridge, the distant cars, the soft wind, felt alive to them, almost intentional. Every sound was measured, interpreted, decoded. Nana often stopped mid-step, listening intently, convinced she heard her mother's voice carried in a minor echo somewhere between reality and memory. By evening, their routine had cemented into a fragile rhythm. Nana, perched on the couch, stuffed animal in lap, eyes wide, repeating her mother's name like a mantra. Bry sat beside her, shirt clutched to his chest, whispering fragments of stories Licole had told them. "Remember when Mommy?" he murmured, and Nana nodded, her small face pressed into the animal, drawing life from the memory, feeding hope back into the fragile, glitching world. They were waiting for Licole to come back, waiting for the thread that connected them to life to be restored. And somewhere, in the hospital, beneath the paralysis, beneath the sedation, beneath the machines, Licole's consciousness was listening. Her mother's whispers, Lamont's words, the beeping monitors. Every tether from the outside world pulsed with life, drawing her closer. The children's grief was quiet, contained, but not passive. It was active in its own way, a counterpoint to the chaos of the hospital room. They were survivors of absence, of uncertainty, of a world temporarily displaced by illness. And they held on to the fragments they had. Each repeated question, each clutched object, each whispered memory, a lifeline connecting them to the mother who had not yet returned. Nana and Bry existed in parallel to the machines, the IVs, the monitors. They were conduits of hope, of love, of presence. Every action, every repetition, every whisper was a signal that Licole was still needed, still wanted, still tethered to life by the smallest, most human threads. The glitches, the loops, the repeated words, they were not meaningless. They were survival. They were connection. And in that fragile, fractured world, Nana and Bry waiting for Licole to come back. Chapter 9, The Mother. Her mom never left. Not for a second. Not for a minute. Even when her body screamed at her to move, to eat, to rest, she stayed. Every chair in the hospital seemed too small, too cold, too rigid for the weight of her worry, but she refused to leave Licole's side. She pressed her hands against her daughter's, leaned close, whispered words into ears that might not yet be able to hear, and let the machine's rhythm become the pulse she synced her own breath to. "Don't give up, baby," she said, voice low, trembling, thick with exhaustion. "You hear me? Mommy's right here with you. You don't have to fight alone. I've got you. I'm not going anywhere." She talked constantly. Names, stories, fragments of memory, promises for the future, everything she could think of that might anchor Licole's consciousness. She reminded her of the first time she rode a bike, scraped knees, the smell of skinned skin and summer air. She told her about the cake they baked together last year, the frosting smudged across Licole's cheek, Bry's laughter echoing around the kitchen. Na had asked what Licole's favorite bedtime story was. So her mom recited the words, the rhythm, the voice Licole had always loved, even though no one could know if she was hearing. Hours stretched into days. She never counted them. She didn't need to. She knew the exact moment she arrived, the exact second the machines began their orchestration, the exact hour the doctors told her that the lead was poisoning Licole's body, that her brain was swelling, that they would have to sedate and paralyze her. Time became irrelevant. Only her presence mattered. She pressed her hand against Licole's chest, feeling the artificial rise and fall of each breath through the ventilator. "It's okay, baby. It's okay," she whispered. "Mommy's here. Mommy loves you. Fight. Just a little longer. Don't give up." The nurses came and went. The doctors came and went. The machines beeped and hissed, and she remained, constant, tethered to her daughter through touch, voice, and sheer will. Each small adjustment, a blanket tucked, a hand repositioned, a finger held tight, was a message. She was still here. She was still present. She would not leave. She remembered the moments of panic, the seizures that shook Licole violently, the screaming, the chaos, the helplessness that had ripped through the kitchen just days ago. That helplessness hadn't left her. It had only transformed into vigilance, into an almost painful attentiveness to every twitch, every microspasm, every flicker of eyelid or finger. She could not lose her again. She would not. "Mommy's right here," she said, voice barely audible over the hum of the ventilator. "You're not alone. I'm right here. Stay with me. Please, stay with me." She leaned closer, her forehead resting against Licole's arm, heart aching in her chest. Every beeping monitor, every hiss, every drip became part of her heartbeat. They were extensions of her attention, amplifiers of her devotion, signals she hoped Licole could perceive. The thought that Licole could hear her, even slightly, became a lifeline. She spoke to her daughter like she was awake, like she could answer back, like she understood every word. She reminded her of the world waiting outside these walls. Na and Bry, Lamont, the ordinary life that had been paused but not lost. She recounted their routines, their quirks, their laughter and tears. Each story was a thread pulling Licole toward consciousness, a rope threaded through fog, illness, and machines. "Remember your birthday last year?" she whispered, voice catching. "The cake, chocolate frosting, Bry spilling it all over his shirt. Na, laughing so hard she couldn't breathe. We're waiting for that again. We'll celebrate again, but only if you come back. I need you to come back." Her eyes never left her daughter's face. She watched every movement, every flicker, every hint of response. Sometimes she thought she saw a twitch of lip, a micro shift in the fingers, and hope would surge, sudden and sharp, before receding like a tide. She never let the hope go completely. It was necessary. Survival depended on it. When Lamont came, she didn't stop talking. She didn't allow silence. She described the children, Nana asking the same question again and again, Bry clinging to Licole's shirt, the house waiting for her. She described herself too, exhausted, broken, but unwavering. And she reminded Lamont to speak, to whisper, to anchor Licole as she had, because life was not only medicine, it was love. Hours bled into nights, nights bled into days, and she remained. Her voice became the constant thread weaving through the chaos of machines, monitors, and medical staff. She told her daughter everything: stories, prayers, hopes, fears. She reminded her that she was loved, needed, awaited. She reminded her that no one would leave, no one would give up. And somehow, somewhere, Licole could hear it. Even when her hands grew tired, even when her throat went raw from hours of speaking, even when the tears wouldn't stop, she stayed. The hospital chair was unforgiving, but she made it temporary. Her presence was permanent. Every whisper, every story, every repeated phrase became more than words. They became lifelines threaded through the haze, tethering Licole to the world, to her family, to reality itself. Keep fighting, baby. Don't give up. Mommy loves you. Please, come back. Her voice trembled, a soft chant carried into the machines, into the sterile room, into the unconscious mind of her daughter, and she waited. Not impatiently, not angrily, not with expectation, but with unwavering love. An anchor no poison, no paralysis, no machine could sever. Because Licole was listening. Somewhere, deep beneath sedation and illness, beneath the machines and the paralysis, her mother's voice was a tether. Her presence was a lifeline. Her love was a constant, unyielding, unshakable, and no matter what, she would not leave. Chapter 10, The Investigation. The hospital had become a second home, sterile and unyielding, but outside of its walls, questions began to form, sharp as knives. Who had allowed this to happen? How had Licole been poisoned? Why hadn't anyone noticed sooner? The answers didn't come in soft whispers. They came in the cold, clinical precision of doctors' reports, lawyers' consultations, and the steady hum of investigation. Her mom sat at a small table in the corner of the waiting area, a stack of medical files in front of her, hands trembling as she sifted through every test, every note, every chart. Her eyes were red-rimmed, fatigue etched deep into her features, but there was fire there too. The fire of someone who refused to let injustice go unanswered. Each paper was a puzzle piece, each figure in blood work a possible clue, each date a marker of failure somewhere in the system. Doctors explained again and again what the tests had shown. Lead levels far beyond safe thresholds, months of slow accumulation, hiding in bones, saturating organs, saturating her brain. The word chronic was repeated with grim precision. This is not recent, one doctor said, voice clipped, professional but heavy with concern. It's been building for months, if not years. Her mom shook her head, unable to comprehend how something so insidious could have gone unnoticed. How did this happen? She asked, voice cracking. Why didn't anyone see it? How could this monster hide inside my baby for so long? The doctor's response was careful, almost too calm. There are several possibilities, he said. Old house pipes, contaminated water, vitamins or supplements, environmental exposure, or less likely but still possible, intentional exposure. His eyes darted to hers, measuring, weighing, hinting that some possibilities were darker than others. The words intentional exposure hit her like ice. She stared at him, silence stretching between them, and in that moment, rage and disbelief collided. She had protected her children from so much sickness, danger, neglect. But this had slipped through the cracks. Invisible, insidious. She would find the source, she promised herself, whatever it took. She began calling everywhere, making lists, jotting down every possible lead. The water company, the old health supplements she'd tried months ago when she had her health kick, the house itself, built decades ago, pipes corroded with time. Even her own groceries came under scrutiny, her carefulness now a source of obsession. She couldn't allow a single stone to remain unturned. Every potential cause had to be accounted for. Every possible mistake had to be discovered. Lamont stayed with her through the calls, sitting close enough to offer silent support, to lean in when the weight of information became too much. He listened as she repeated names, numbers, dates, and possibilities, each iteration sharpening the focus of their collective anger. They were detectives now, piecing together months of hidden harm, tracing the invisible trail of lead that had infiltrated Licole's body. Mommy, what about the vitamins? Na's small voice interrupted, timid but persistent. The ones you gave us, Could they make her sick? Her mom's jaw tightened. We're checking everything, baby, she said gently, pressing a hand to Nana's hair. Everything. We're leaving nothing unchecked. We'll find the answer, Mommy promises. The investigation deepened. Water samples were collected from the old house's faucets. Lead tests were performed on pipes and soil surrounding the property. Vitamins and supplements from months ago were traced back to the manufacturer, batches examined for contamination. Each step revealed more potential failure points, each result narrowing the range of possibilities. But nothing was definitive yet. The poison had left a trail that was precise and silent, impossible to catch without careful, forensic-level scrutiny. Her mom refused to leave the hospital during this process. Even as experts arrived, even as they began environmental testing, she stayed, notebook open, asking questions, pressing for answers. The doctors and investigators met her vigilance with professional respect and cautious empathy. They had never seen someone so determined, so relentless, so unrelenting in pursuit of truth. Days blurred into nights. Every lead, every report, every sample was another layer of tension. Each new possibility was both a relief and a new source of dread. Relief that they might finally know, dread at what that knowledge might reveal. Contaminated vitamins? That would feel like betrayal by care, by health. Old pipes? A cruel trick of fate, negligence masquerading as safety. Something in the water? Indifference from the system that should protect them. Or something darker? Someone deliberately trying to harm Licole. The thought was a knife twisting in her chest. Lamont and her mom talked in hushed tones, mapping out every scenario, considering consequences. They prepared for public scrutiny, for accountability, for the possibility that negligence or malice had been the hand guiding Licole toward harm. Their grief and fear transformed into sharp focus, turning worry into strategy. And through it all, Licole lay in the room beyond, unconscious but tethered by love, by presence, by the constant vigilance of her family. The investigation, clinical and methodical, became a parallel battle to the fight raging in her body. Every answer they uncovered, every hypothesis tested, was an attempt to reclaim the world for her. A way to ensure that when she returned, she would not be stepping into chaos, but into clarity, into safety, into truth. The tension in the hospital stretched taut like a bowstring. Each finding, each test, each conversation pulled tighter. And somewhere in that web of suspicion, science, and maternal fury, a thread of certainty began to form. They would find the cause. They would confront it. They would make it right. Because Licole deserved nothing less. And they would not rest until the truth was uncovered. Chapter 11, 97 Days. Time had no mercy here. It bled, stretched, and looped back on itself, a river that refused to flow normally. Days and nights were indistinguishable, each marked only by the rise and fall of sun through the hospital windows and the relentless beeping of machines. 97 days. 97 days of waiting, of fighting, of hoping, of being suspended in a liminal space that felt endless. Her mom had become part of the hospital, inseparable from Licole's bed, from the ventilator, from the monitors that recorded every heartbeat, every breath, every twitch. She had learned to anticipate the subtle rhythms of her daughter's body, to sense the micro movements that others might miss. One twitch of a finger, one flick of an eyelid, one irregular beep of the monitor. It was news, it was hope, it was terror. Lamont had carved himself a place nearby. Sometimes he sat quietly, letting her mom lead the way, letting her presence speak louder than words. Other times, he spoke softly to Licole, repeating the same phrases she might hear through the haze. Nah asked about you today. Bri won't sleep without your shirt. You gotta come back, Licole. Words like lifelines, tossed across the invisible expanse separating her consciousness from the world. The days blurred. Meals came and went, often untouched, because there was no appetite when the weight of fear pressed so heavily. Sleep was impossible. Even in stolen moments of rest, dreams were haunted by fragments of the hospital room, machines, IV lines, monitors, the sterile scent of antiseptic that clung to everything. Every dream ended with the same loop, the question that refused to leave. Was she coming back? Doctors continued to adjust medications, tweak dosages, change IVs, respond to every twitch and spike of pressure in her brain. Each small change brought hope or terror in equal measure. A drop in fever, a slight increase in blood pressure, tiny eye movements, or nothing at all. Sometimes the only measurable progress was a slight rise in color returning to her cheeks, an almost imperceptible relaxation in her muscles. But to her mom, every micro change was monumental. Every twitch was a whisper saying, "I'm still here. I haven't given up." Nana and Bri were woven into the days, threaded through the hospital visits, tethered to the slow rhythm of recovery. Nana would press her small hand to Licole's, whispering, "Come back, Mommy. We need you." Bri would trace the patterns on Licole's hospital gown, murmuring stories about the world outside, about school, about what they were waiting to do together. Their presence, their voices, became part of the tapestry of hope, fragile but unbreakable. It was not linear. Some days felt like progress, others like retreat. There were moments when monitors screamed warnings, when alarms sliced through the soft fog of anticipation, and her mom's heart plummeted in tandem with the spikes of danger. The doctors moved quickly then, administering medication, adjusting sedation, manipulating every variable they could control. And still, in those moments of panic, her mom's hand never left her daughter's. Her voice never ceased. "I'm here. Don't leave me. Fight. Just a little longer." Sleep came in fragments, if at all, and she learned to exist in bursts. Coffee became a lifeline, not a comfort. Chairs were reconfigured endlessly for warmth or support. Blankets folded and unfolded, pillows adjusted, hands rubbed raw. Every movement, every whisper, every careful breath was a plea, a tether, a bridge between consciousness and the world. Time did something strange in these 97 days. It amplified emotion, turned minutes into hours, hours into days, days into a blur. It heightened every sensation, the soft brush of a hand, the faintest exhalation, the quiet click of a monitor. Every heartbeat was a universe in itself, measured and watched, waiting for signs of return. Hope became ritual. Her mom would mark every small victory, a color return, a tiny eye flicker, a faint response to sound, on a small calendar in the room. Days crossed off, each one a testament to endurance, to resilience, to love. She whispered prayers for Licole not because she believed in their literal effect, but because the act of speaking them maintained connection. It held Licole in her awareness, tethered her to life, and reminded the family that they had not given up. Conversations with Lamont were careful, measured, hopeful. They spoke of the children, of the world outside, of small plans for a life that waited beyond the hospital. "We'll take her home," he said one day, voice low, steady. "We'll bring her back to us." Her mom nodded, swallowing a lump of hope and fear simultaneously. They could only wait. They could only hold on. And somewhere in the sedation, the paralysis, the beeping, and the tubes, Licole's consciousness stirred. Tiny ripples, subtle at first, like the surface of water disturbed by a soft breeze. A finger twitched, a flutter in her eyelid. Not enough for anyone but her mother to notice, yet enough to make hope surge, sharp and sudden, like electricity through the veins. Time stretched again, unbearably, painfully, but the small signs accumulated. Day by day, minute by minute, she returned inch by inch. 97 days was an eternity and a moment, a space where despair and hope coexisted in every breath. Her mom never stopped talking, never stopped holding, never stopped believing. Lamont never stopped reminding her that the children needed her. And in the midst of the machines, the IVs, the paralysis, and the darkness, Licole began to come back. The fight was not over, but for the first time in 97 days, the world felt like it could shift. And slowly, tentatively, she began to answer. Chapter 12, The Moment. The room was silent, except for the steady rhythm of machines that had become the background of every breath, every heartbeat, every whispered prayer. For 97 days, her mom had held Licole's hand, repeated words, told stories, offered life through voice and touch. For 97 days, hope had been fragile, flickering, sometimes bright, sometimes barely there. Now, in this exact moment, everything narrowed to the space between her mom and Licole, the thin line that separated unconsciousness from response, paralysis from awareness. Time slowed, every second stretching taut, every inhale and exhale weighted with possibility. Her mom leaned close, whispering with the soft insistence of love that refused to leave. "Keep fighting, Licole. Don't give up. Mommy loves you. You've got this. I'm right here." The words were repeated endlessly, sometimes catching in her throat, sometimes spilling out in hurried torrents. She pressed her forehead against Licole's arm, feeling the faintest pulse beneath her palm. Beep, pause, beep. The monitor's rhythm had become their heartbeat, the soundtrack to every long, endless day and night. The air was heavy, filled with anticipation, tension, and unspoken prayers. Lamont stood nearby, quiet, watching, holding back tears, trying not to move, trying not to breathe too loudly, afraid even the sound of his own presence might disrupt what was happening. Na and Bri were absent from the room, kept at a distance for the moment, but their absence made the room feel hollow, waiting, as if it too knew something monumental was about to occur. Then something shifted, a small flicker so subtle that anyone else might have missed it. A finger twitched. Her mom froze, palm still pressed to her daughter's hand, heart hammering. She leaned closer, holding her breath. "Licole, baby, it's me, your mom. You hear me, right? You're coming back to me." A second flicker, a tiny movement of the eyelid. The machines continued their mechanical rhythm, but the room seemed to hold a different charge now. Charged with anticipation, electric and sharp. Her mom whispered again, voice trembling, "It's okay, baby, you're okay, I'm right here, don't give up, you can do this." Hours of silence, days of waiting, weeks of vigilance, all concentrated into this single point in time. Then, almost imperceptibly, a sound, a breath, not machine-assisted, but Licole's own. One small inhale, a single fragile exhale. Her mom's tears came at once, streaming down her face as she clutched Licole's hand, afraid to even move in case it vanished. "Licole?" she whispered, voice breaking. "Baby, did you say something?" A faint sound, a tiny, almost unintelligible murmur. "Mom," the room shifted. The monitors beeped and pulsed, indifferent to human emotion, but to her mom, every beep became a shout of triumph. Lamont moved closer, voice tight with emotion. "Mom, she said it. She said your name." "Licole, baby, it's me, I'm right here." Her mom pressed closer, tears falling freely, whispering words she had been repeating for months. Every word was a thread pulling Licole back, a lifeline from the world she had been trapped between and the one she was returning to. The murmur came again, stronger this time. "Mom, Her voice was fragile, hoarse, more sound than clarity, but it was there, real, solid. The first real response in 97 days. Her mom froze, barely daring to move, as if even the slightest motion could break the fragile bridge between silence and speech. Lamont's hand found hers, gripping tight, shared hope coursing through both of them. "You hear that?" he whispered. "She's talking. She's back." Licole's lips moved again, forming words that were almost too soft to hear, but unmistakable in meaning. I'm here." Her mom couldn't contain herself. She pressed her forehead to Licole's arm again, her tears soaking into the hospital gown, her voice breaking with raw emotion. "Yes, baby. Yes, you're here. You're back. You're okay. I love you. I've been waiting. Please, don't leave me again." Machines beeped, IVs dripped, ventilators hissed, but all of it faded into the background. For the first time in months, everything else was secondary. Licole was present, her consciousness inching forward, tethered to the world by the unrelenting voice, the unyielding love of her mother. The words came slower now, but clearer, stronger. "Mom, love." Her mom squeezed her hand, whispering, voice cracking, trembling with relief, joy, and lingering fear. Yes, I love you. I've never stopped. Never. You're back. You're safe. You're okay." Even Lamont's voice trembled as he leaned closer. "Licole, you're back. We've been waiting. The kids, everyone, we've missed you so much." And somewhere between the machines and the sterile room, Licole responded again, slightly stronger this time. I'm back. A pause, a breath, a heartbeat, and then a small, fleeting smile. Just the hint of one, but enough to set fire to the months of despair, to crack open the walls of fear and helplessness, to remind everyone that hope, when relentless, can survive the longest nights. Her mom pressed her face against Licole's hand, voice breaking in whispered triumph. Yes, baby, you're back. You're back with me. I've been waiting. Don't ever leave me again, please. The room was full of sound now, not just the machines, but soft murmurs, sighs, shared tears. Life had returned, fragile and raw, but unmistakable. Licole's body, her mind, her presence, they were back. For the first time in 97 days, silence answered. Chapter 13, Licole's conclusion. I didn't know I was gone. That's the strangest part of all of this. People keep saying 97 days, like it was this long, stretched out absence, like I disappeared into some dark, silent place and just stayed there. But for me, it didn't feel like that. It felt like things were moving, like life was still happening, like I was still in it. There was no big black void, no dramatic darkness, no moment where I felt myself slip away. It was more like walking through a hallway that kept changing shape. Doors would appear, disappear, voices would echo, then distort, moments would start, but never finish. And I didn't question it at first, because it felt real. I remember hearing my mom, clear as day, not all the time, but enough. Her voice would cut through everything else, like it knew where I was, even when I didn't. Don't give up, baby. That part stayed steady. But everything else, it started to glitch. Memories didn't line up. Conversations repeated. Faces would blur or feel off, like I knew who I was looking at, but something about them didn't sit right in my chest. I'd think I just talked to someone, then suddenly, I'd be talking to them again. Same words, same tone, same moment, like I was stuck in a loop I couldn't see the edges of. At first, I thought it was me. Stress, exhaustion, maybe I wasn't sleeping enough, maybe I was overwhelmed. You know how you try to explain things away when they don't make sense yet? Yeah, I did that, a lot. But then it got worse. I started forgetting things I shouldn't forget. Simple things, what day it was, what I had just done, where I put things, then finding them somewhere I knew I didn't leave them. And the scariest part, I wasn't scared right away because it didn't hit all at once. It crept in, slow, quiet, like something learning me while undoing me at the same time. I remember thinking, this isn't right. Not in a loud way, not in a panic, just a quiet knowing. Like my body understood something my mind hadn't caught up to yet. And all that time, my body was fighting something I couldn't see. Something I didn't even know I had invited in. The vitamins. That's what it was. Something so small, so normal, so easy to trust. We got them from a holistic store. The kind of place that smells like peace and promises. Shelves lined with natural, organic, healing. The kind of place you go when you're trying to do better for yourself. For your health, for your life. They said it would help, energy, balance, immunity, all the things you don't question because they sound like care. But those vitamins, they weren't what they said they were. They were brought in from overseas, relabeled, resold like they were safe, like they were meant to heal. But they were slowly poisoning me, day by day, dose by dose, quietly. And nobody knew, not me, not my family, not until my body couldn't hide it anymore, not until everything started shutting down, not until I was already gone. When they told me after I woke up, it didn't feel real. I sat there listening, trying to match that information to the experience I had just lived through, trying to understand how something so simple could do something so devastating. They said the store was investigated, fined heavily, shut down. The people responsible? 3 years. 3 years for something that almost took my life. 3 years for something that did take 97 days from me and left pieces of me still trying to catch up. I should have been angry, and I was. But more than that, I was aware of how easily trust can be misplaced, how something labeled healing can harm you if you're not careful, how your body can carry a battle long before your mind understands it's in one. So I changed things, not out of fear, but out of respect for what I survived. I grow my own herbs now. Everything I put in my body, I know where it comes from. I know how it's made. I know what it does. Because I learned the hard way that not everything meant to help you actually will. And now when I think back to the voices, to the glitches, to the loops, to my mom's voice cutting through everything like a light I couldn't see but could always feel, I understand it. I wasn't lost. I wasn't gone. I was fighting. In a place where nothing made sense, I was still holding on to the things that did. And somehow they held on to me too. I'm here now. Not the same, but still here. And that's enough. It's Queenie Anaj, and you just stepped through the other side of reality. Now I gotta ask you something. When things started not adding up, would you have noticed? Would you have trusted your body or explained it away? Because Licole didn't know. Not at first. Not until it was already too late. Something meant to help her was slowly harming her. Let this be a reminder. Always be mindful of what's going into your body. Check, research, ask questions. Your health is yours, and sometimes even things sold as safe aren't. So tell me, what part hit you the hardest? The waiting, the fight, or the moment you realized what caused it? If this story stayed with you, share it with 5 people you care about. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. New chapters, new stories, drop every Thursday at 2 p.m. Don't miss it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. This has been a story by me, Queenie Anaj.